Tonight, we ask what it would take to hack a voting machine and switch the results with an experiment.
The good news is it's not something you can easily do from Russia. The bad news is that it really is possible to do locally.
We'll also drill into the recount, the new faces in Washington, and Trump's proposal to expel or jail people who burn our flag. Plus, we'll go one-on-one with our special guest, Senator Marco Rubio. And in our humor segment, I'll turn up the heat on Password Challenge.
Where we are? I just ate a huge bag of coleslaw.
This is Money, Power, and Politics.
Okay, Marissa, look forward to seeing that. We're going to start tonight, though, with the recount effort.
And the president-elect's claim of mass voter fraud.
And an interesting warning from Newt Gingrich.
Next, we're going to be told that not only were the Russians engaged, but that there were Martians who were secretly voting in a variety of hamlets, and they were all right-wing Martians.
Wait, is he serious?
No, he's not, because we found some evidence that some of those extraterrestrials who tapped into our election system are not right-wing. Take a look.
I was actually born on Krypton and sent here by my father, Jor-El, to save the planet Earth.
Was he serious about that?
No, and Gingrich is bringing up the Martians because the Trump team thinks the recount is a joke.
Yeah, they do, and there could be some odd unintended consequences in all of this, and Adam Goodman spelled it out.
It's not going anywhere, though. Ultimately, number one, you have the rules that they're fighting. Wisconsin, for instance, they have to certify the election results by the 13th of December. The electors have to meet by the 19th to validate, or else Wisconsin's electoral votes may not count.
Yeah, repeat. As a result of the recount, Wisconsin, the state of Wisconsin, 6 million people, may not count. Wisconsin, by the way, has a decentralized recount system.
Meaning the state orders it, then turns it over to local governments to carry it out.
And if those local governments, the clerks, miss the deadline, which is 2 weeks from today, Wisconsin would not count in the Electoral College. Now, Trump would still have a majority of electoral votes without Wisconsin. He would also have to lose Michigan and lose Wisconsin and Pennsylvania in a recount. A statewide recount could maybe move a few hundred votes, but that's just not enough to flip all of those states.
No, because Trump's up 12,000 votes in Michigan, more than 20,000 in Wisconsin, and up nearly 70,000 in Pennsylvania.
On top of all that, Pennsylvania, Stein missed the deadline for a voter recount in Pennsylvania anyway, so it's an uphill climb, of course, to say the least.
And Stein says the potential for voter fraud and hacking compelled her to seek these recounts.
Yeah, she did. And Trump may have inadvertently supported her argument by claiming that millions of people voted illegally this year. We still have no evidence this year of that, but we have, in fact, found some problems in the past. For example, after the 2012 election, we found 6 people in Hillsborough County, 7 people in Pinellas County who, according to public records, voted in Florida and North Carolina in 2012. And with records provided by the Voter Integrity Project, our list grew from there to 149 people who voted in Florida and North Carolina in the same election. Again, we never found evidence of mass fraud. But again, Stein is raising concerns about potential hacking as well. And Eric Shawn looked into that before the election.
I have demonstrated how to hack the ABC Advantage voting machines that we use in New Jersey.
Princeton University professor Andrew Appel says a touchscreen voting machine, the type used in about 10 states, can be tampered with.
The back door.
In 2008, he demonstrated how, as part of an election lawsuit against New Jersey officials. While he notes there has been no documented case of a machine actually being hacked this way in a U.S. election, he says it could happen by simply swapping the machine's computer chip for his own.
And I'll just have to replace this one ROM chip with a fraudulent computer program.
He was able to change the votes the machine counted.
I figured out how to make a slightly different computer program that just before the close of the polls, it shifts some votes around from one candidate to another. And I wrote that computer program onto a memory chip like this. And now to hack a voting machine, you have to get 7 minutes alone with it with a screwdriver.
Our experience here in this office, we all concur that we have not seen one documented case in machine being compromised.
John Brzezowski, the Deputy Superintendent of Elections in Hudson County, New Jersey, insists in real life it cannot be done. He points to multiple redundant safeguards that protect machines. They are locked in secure areas, under camera surveillance, and broken security tape on vital parts would show any violation.
I don't know how you could possibly do that to 500 machines and get the secrecy and the time to do so. I don't believe that's possible.
But the professor insists it is.
The good news is it's not something you can easily do from Russia. The bad news is that it really is possible to do locally.
Again, that was Eric Sean reporting. Now, the voting machine company said that that demonstration was not a credible test because it was not an actual election. Now let's send it over to Craig and our special guest, Senator Marco Rubio.
Okay, thank you, Marissa, and thank you, Senator Rubio, for joining us. I want to start by asking if you see any possibility at all that voting machines may have been hacked and results switched in Michigan and Wisconsin or Pennsylvania.
No, I wasn't involved in the elections in those states, but I've seen no evidence of that, nor has anyone pointed to any evidence of that. And minus the existence of evidence of that, I wouldn't believe that.
What do you make of President-elect Trump's claim that millions of people voted illegally? Do you see any evidence there?
No, I imagine that there are individuals across the country that perhaps weren't eligible to vote, but I don't think it was widespread from anything I've seen. And I certainly don't think it impacted the outcome of the election. And I can only speak with authority about Florida. And I can tell you that in Florida, I believe the elections were conducted in a way that was fair and straightforward and valid and legitimate. And I've heard no complaints from anybody about the way the elections were conducted in Florida.
What about the big debate today over the American flag? Should people be jailed for burning the flag?
I would love to keep people from burning the flag or doing any sort of other anti-American and offensive things. The Supreme Court case law on this is pretty straightforward, and that is that as offensive as it might be and as unacceptable as it is protected under the Constitution.
Now, you previously said that President-elect Trump cannot be trusted with the nuclear codes. Do you still believe that he cannot be trusted with those codes, yes or no?
Well, it doesn't matter what I believe at this point because the voters chose him and the voters trust him. And so that's what I trust. I trust the voters. He's now the president-elect. The campaign is over. I'm going to leave behind the rhetoric of the campaign, especially the rhetoric of the primary, and I'm going to focus now on giving him every chance to be a successful president, because if he succeeds, the country succeeds.
Give us your prediction on Cuba. What specifically will President-elect Trump change, and when will he change it?
Well, you'll have to ask his administration about what they want to change. I can tell you that I want us to re-examine all of our policy towards Cuba. I'm never been against changes in Cuba policy. I just want to make sure that the changes make sense. I have two primary interests. Number one, first and foremost, is the national security and national interest of the United States. And I want our policy to reflect that. And number two is I want to see greater opening, more freedom on the island, because that instability that it creates on the island of Cuba has a direct impact on the United States and on Florida. And that's why I stand for human rights, not just in Cuba, but anywhere in the world where they're being violated.
All right, Senator Rubio, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, well, thanks, Craig. And Senator Rubio, changing gears now, it was a busy day for the president-elect. Trump plans to name Steven Mnuchin Treasury Secretary. Mnuchin was Trump's national finance chairman throughout the campaign. He worked on Wall Street and in Hollywood, but he has no government experience. The selection could be made official as early as tomorrow. And Trump picked Georgia Congressman Tom Price to be his Secretary of Health. That takes Florida Governor Rick Scott out of the running. Scott says he wants to finish his second term as governor and possibly challenge Senator Bill Nelson in 2018.
Meanwhile, Trump picked Elaine Chao to run the U.S. Department of Transportation, meaning Central Florida Congressman John Mica is out of that position. She was Secretary of Labor under President George W. Bush. Okay, coming up, why did the president-elect propose jailing people who burn the American flag? We'll show you how that may fit into his strategy.
Plus, in our humor segment, Craig takes the helm in this week's Password Challenge. All right, well, this morning on Twitter, President-elect Trump triggered a debate over our flag and whether people should be allowed to burn it.
And nearly 30 years ago, President George H.W. Bush also said you should not be allowed to burn the American flag. Here's Trump's tweet. Nobody should be allowed to burn the American flag. If they do, there must be consequences, perhaps loss of citizenship or year in jail.
He may have been referring to student protests over the weekend at a college in Massachusetts where students did burn a flag. And here's how his team responded.
One of the great things about the president-elect is he's going to voice his opinion. And when he's has something to say, he's going to say it and people are going to know it.
And this revived a debate going all the way back to the late 1980s. We've had this before. Congress passed the Flag Protection Act back then. It was a Democratic Congress, by the way, but the Supreme Court, Scalia and others ruled that burning the flag is protected free speech.
Yeah, Justice Scalia and Kennedy voted with the majority. Kennedy wrote, "The flag protects those who hold it in contempt."
But remember, Trump also ran and won on the theme of law and order, and he knows many of his supporters agree with his belief that people should not be allowed to burn the flag, just as former President Bush and a Democratic Congress agreed with him decades ago. It does, at least though, raise some questions about his pick to replace Justice Scalia and where he or she may stand on this as well. So this may be a long way from finish. By the way, speaking of long way from finish, we have a lot of ground to cover in the second half of our show, but now it's time for something different in tonight's humor segment. Marissa, this time it's going to be a little different.
Yeah, we just taped our first password challenge with you calling the shots.
Yep, so the idea is I whisper or pass along certain things that you and the others have to say or do. Charlie and Russell try to make you laugh along the way while you have a serious discussion of politics. Okay, let's take a look at how I did. All right, let's do this in 3, 2, 1.
All right, welcome to another edition of the Password Challenge, guys. I know, Russell, you like to laugh a lot, so hopefully we can make it happen again.
I'm trying.
And just to remind everybody, so we'll get a secret phrase, and we have to enter it into the conversation, and if we laugh, we're
lose.
out.
Yes.
Okay.
But nobody ever really loses on this show, let's be honest.
We're all winners on Money, Power, and Politics.
Everybody gets a trophy. That's what's wrong with the world today.
I was going to say, that's what
question about
Chris Cross will make you jump.
Landslides to that extent for a while. So, you know, if people are Chris Cross said you got to jump. And that's, you know, you're jumping from being happy to being sad. So the Democrats, who were happy for the last 8 years, now they're feeling the way Republicans felt for the last 8 years.
Say, I'd like to express myself with some interpretive poetry.
there that make you think. And I'm not sure we have that anymore. It's also, it's knee-jerk. I'm gonna respond to this right now. And I
Go ahead. And sometimes I'd like to express myself using interpretive poetry, I think.
Are you gonna do that right now? You want to say a poem for us?
I don't even know what that means.
Perhaps a haiku?
I think I just lost.
I once ate a large vat of coleslaw. Say it.
And I'm thinking about where we are right now. I just ate a huge vat of coleslaw. I tried so hard. I tried so hard to work. I ate a huge vat of coleslaw into this conversation, and I couldn't.
Well, that's our country makeup. We're like a huge vat of coleslaw. You got your cabbage, you got your carrot.
This reminds me of something deeply profound.
No.
This reminds me of something deeply profound.
Now tell us something deeply profound.
What does?
Tell me something deeply profound. I don't know what's going on right now in my head. I feel like there's so many things going on that is so profound.
This all reminds me of a very funny joke.
This all reminds me of a very funny joke.
Go.
Tell us the joke.
Here's the joke.
That joke was worse than the Florida Gators.
No, I only said that. He actually didn't tell me a joke. I would have just repeated the joke.
That joke was worse than the Florida Gators. I can't believe I was just forced to say that.
He just disparaged the Gators?
I can't believe
that. But a country
that.
Divided, for goodness
sakes.
sakes.
I know. I can't even go through college football without
After
just
that big
being,
win over LSU, and here you are disparaging them.
I'd like to sing the Everly Brothers now.
This is like an Everly Brothers song.
Break out into Spanish.
Sí, ¿cómo estás? ¿Qué? No entiendo.
Time now to sing my favorite Vonda Shepard song.
All right, it's time now to sing my favorite Vonda Shepard song. Remember her and Ally McBeal? Yeah. That was what was that? How does it go, Russell? Help me out with the Vonda Shepard song.
I think we need to refocus.
I do too.
Let's get back to politics.
Yeah, let's get back to politics.
I'd like to close with my favorite dance move.
I'd like to close with my favorite dance move.
Dabbed and walked away. I guess that's the end of this episode, or not this episode, but this this game of
I'm not sure
Password
what
Challenge.
this was.
That was the dab. You know, Cam Newton.
Yeah,
that's like his move, the Superman thing.
My favorite dance move.
Yeah.
All the kids are doing it.
I missed that part.
That was good though. I think we should really close on that. So we'll send it back to you, Craig.
Okay then. Well,
That was ridiculous.
That was ridiculous. We have something different around the corner. As we approach the holidays, we have the final contribution of the year from Charlie LaDuff. It's a story of government failures and of tragedy, and a young victim who inspired her community to remember her as best they can. Well, this month we showed you how failures in government over and over again, and the headlines that played out in Michigan just before the election may have moved some votes.
Yeah, a killer roamed free while evidence that could have stopped him collected dust.
And with this, we showed you how one of his young victims is now buried in an unmarked grave. But Charlie LaDuff shows us how people responded by honoring her.
Dantoya White was not yet 16 years old when she was raped, murdered, and mutilated in a West Side alley on her way home from the public library. Her killer marauded through the city for another decade, undetected, while Dantoya lay in an unmarked grave. Her killer is in prison now, but what about Dantoya? Someone's child. Her life mattered. Her memory matters. After hearing of the circumstances of the unmarked grave, a family of stonemasons went to work. They cut her a headstone engraved with an angel. They refused to take money. The human species honors its dead. An anonymous businessman paid for the upkeep of Dantoya's grave in perpetuity, and the gravediggers came out in the rain. Thank you, all of you, from her family. Thank you. And it may not always seem so, but your life, my life, her life matters. It matters to people whom you may never know.
Well, thank you, Charlie. We still have some ground to cover on the backside of the show. We have a victory tour due not from Donald Trump.
Yep, that's coming up. We'll tell you where he's going to be at after the break. So President-elect Trump is heading back on the trail, not the campaign trail, but what he's calling a thank you tour, and it's going to kick off Thursday in Cincinnati at U.S. Bank Arena. Now, you were saying that this has happened, but not too often.
It doesn't happen often, but look, new administrations want to get off on the right foot. They need buy-in from the public. For example, the Clintons tried this in 1992, after their election, I should say in 93. It didn't work so well for Hillary Clinton as First Lady. She was booed at times, but they want to be able to move an agenda through Congress, and winning over the public is certainly part of that.
All right, we'll see how it goes.
All right, that is our show tonight, folks. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you again tomorrow night. Take care.